You are listening to Aural Abominations on Ragebreed Radio.
Welcome to Aural Abominations, the podcast that dares to journey into the darkest corners of heavy music history. And tonight, we're stepping into the shadows to uncover one of the most extreme and infamous genres ever created, black metal. It's a story of raw rebellion, chilling atmosphere, and controversy that shook the music world. From the early pioneers like Venom and Bathory, to the infamous Norwegian wave of mayhem and Burzum, and finally, to the evolution of black metal across the globe. This is more than music, it's a movement, a myth, and sometimes, a nightmare.
So we're going to go into the first wave of black metal. I'm your host, Karina Sher, and I hope you enjoy today's podcast. So, let's go into it, shall we? Black metal's roots trace back to the early 1980s, when bands began to push heavy metal into a darker and a more sinister territory. In 1982, Venom released their second album, Black Metal, a record so chaotic, raw and aggressive that it gave the entire genre its name. Venom weren't subtle. They embraced satanic imagery and a reckless, dangerous sound that felt like an assault on their senses. Meanwhile, Bathory in Sweden took things a little further, stripping production down to a harsh, lo-fi wall of noise, laced with shrieking vocals and pagan themes. Hawthorne's vision would become the blueprint for the style we recognise today. Celtic Frost from Switzerland added avant-garde touches, dark experimentation, and a sense of dread that helped black metal evolve beyond pure aggression. Together, these bands formed what we call the first wave of black metal, a movement driven by atmosphere, rebellion, and the desire to break away from traditional metal. The Norwegian second wave. So, it was the early 1990s in Norway that gave black metal its most notorious chapter. Bands like Mayhem, Burzum, Emperor, Darkthrone, and Immortal took the foundations of the first wave and forged them into something colder, harsher, and far more extreme. The music became defined by its icy atmosphere, tremolo-picked guitar riffs and relentless blast beats, and chilling shrieks echoing from the void. Corpse paint became the uniform, black and white makeup that transformed performers into ghostly figures of death and darkness. But black metal in Norway wasn't just about sound, it was about ideology. Many in the scene rejected Christianity, which they saw as an oppressive force on their culture. Some embraced paganism, Satanism, or sheer nihilism. And tragically, this rebellion spiraled into real-life violence. Not sort of the greatest thing about black metal, but it certainly has history. Between 1992 and 1996, Norway saw a wave of church burnings, iconic wooden staved churches, some over 1,000 years old, reduced to ash. Murder also tainted the scene, most infamously the killing of Euronymous of Mayhem by Vikinus of Burzum. The second wave shocked the world. To outsiders it was terrifying. To insiders it was an act of cultural defiance. Either way, black metal had forever branded itself in infamy. Evolution and global expansion. As the 90s continued, black metal spread beyond Norway and reshaped itself across the world. In Sweden, dissection blended black metal with melodic death metal, creating icy anthems filled with atmosphere. In Finland, bands like Beherit and Horner embraced raw brutality. France gave us the dissonant, philosophical chaos of Death Spell Omega. Poland produced Behemoth, who merged black and death metal into something colossal. And the genre also branched into new forms, So, symphonic black metal pioneered by Emperor and expanded by Dimmu Borgir and Cradle of Filth, which added orchestration and grandeur to the darkness. Meanwhile, atmospheric and post-black bands like Allsopp and Wolves in the Throne Room created a more ethereal, dreamlike approach, proof that black metal could be both savage and beautiful. By the 2000s and 2010s, black metal was no longer confined in basements in Oslo. It was on festival stages, in documentaries, and influencing countless subgenres across extreme music. Black metal's legacy. Well, today black metal stands as one of the most influential and controversial movements in heavy music. To some it's still an underground rebellion, a rejection of conformity. To others it's just a respected art form, complex, diverse and endlessly evolving. But one thing is certain, black metal has left a scar on the history of music. It forced the world to confront darkness, rebellion and the raw power of sound. It asked questions about belief, identity and freedom, and sometimes it answered them with fire.
are listening to Aural Abominations on Ragebreed Radio.
Sin and the Oscar of a bus triumph takes away. mistress of principle that leave its toxic trace once and for
all. You are listening to Aural Abominations on Ragebreed Radio.
Newsflash, Cradle of Filth have recently faced turbulence mid-tour as guitarist Mark Ashok Smrda and keyboardist/vocalist Zoe Marie Fedorov departed under contentious circumstances. Alongside disputes over contracts and pay, tensions reportedly escalated due to heavy drinking and frequent fights between the couple while on tour. Both musicians voiced criticism of management on their exit, but frontman Danny Filth dismissed the claims as unfounded and assured fans the band remains strong and focused. Despite the drama, Cradle of Filth continue to push forward and will be featured in issue 3 of Ragebreed Magazine. Lineups do not always survive and clashes happen, but what remains is the incredible musical legacy of Cradle of Filth that will remain as front cover for Ragebreed Magazine, issue 3, despite the issues with the lineup. Ian McWilliams interviewed Danny Filth prior to the split, but Ragebreed will add more on the news so it is more up to date for this year's release.
And now from Nathan Allsopp.
Now, like, this band, I got into this band like late 2005, obsessed with them, and it probably got me into extreme metal. This band's Cradle of Filth, excellent band, love them. Late 2005 I just listened to HMV and I bought the debut album, Principle of Evil Made Flesh. I was like, wow, this is really fucking evil, and listening to that witchcraft and Satanism and the corpse came out. These guys are the real deal, you know. Like, I think with Cradle they are more just a shock value band, but still excellent band. And then I bought like one of the greatest hits albums, which had like Dusk of Her Embrace, 13 Orcs and a Widow, all that stuff. Ghost in the Fog, they're like a greatest hits album. It's called Lovecraft Hearts or something like that. It was really cool. I was obsessed with Cradle of Filth, so it kind of got me into black metal and death metal, stuff like that. But I just love like their Corpse Paint, that album Cruelty and the Beast that's themed on Christmas Battery. It's so fucking badass, so evil. I love that. And I got all of their other albums, Midia and Dusk in Her Embrace. Yeah, that got me into black metal. I mean, Cradle of Filth kind of got me into extreme metal, black metal, death metal, and all that stuff. Yeah, it's definitely Cradle of Filth. Definitely the band got me into that stuff. And around 2007, another band I got really into and obsessed with, similar to Cradle of Filth, kind of symphonic black metal, but this time it's Dimmu Borgir from Norway. Excellent band. I bought the Enthroned Darkness Triumphant album, which to still say today is their best album, masterpiece. I bought that and I was obsessed. They had Morning Palace, Spellbound on the Devil, Death's Embrace. Excellent fucking record. Still listen to it today. Brilliant. And I was like obsessed with like these guys are similar to Cradle, and they're still really cool as well. I got to get all their albums. So like 2007, I think it was like once a Sunday I'd go to HMV and I'd buy a different Dimmu Borgir album each week. I bought the after Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, I bought Spiritual Black Dimensions, which is absolutely brilliant album. Similar to very close to Enthroned Darkness Triumphant. I love it, very creepy, kind of haunting atmosphere. I love it like Reptile, Behind the Curtains of Night, Phantasmagoria, Promised Future Aeons, United in the Hallowed Grace. It's definitely one of, probably let's say, their second best album. And then I bought all the others like Death Call Armageddon, Serpentine Offering, Puritanical Euphoric Misanthropia, Stormblast. It's no joke, every Sunday I'd go on 2007 and buy a new Dimmu album. It's cool. And around 2008 I discovered Mayhem. Wow. I actually watched a video on YouTube of their performance at Blackened 2004 when he had Maniac on vocals. Wow, these guys are fucking awesome live. I've got to see them live. And they were fucking excellent. I watched that video, it's so cool. I'd love to go back in time. It's like 21 years ago, 2004, and they played Vakken, and Maniac is in that corpse paint and he throws like a pig's head into the crowd. I was like, that's real shit. It's really cool, awesome stuff. And I listened to the De Mystery Dom Satanas album, bought the album. It's fucking brilliant, one of my favourite albums of all time. Recently I've seen Mayhem 3 times actually. First was at Bloodstock 2012, and then Incineration 2019, and this year actually in Vancouver saw them 2 months ago, and they've been excellent each time. I saw them in Vancouver 2 months ago. They played for like 2 hours straight, which was amazing. I can't believe how long they played for. I was like, got in the mosh pit, watched them a bit. And they played like everything of each album, because it's like they played all of their albums, like a few songs of each album. They had like a slideshow of the past with like Dead and what happened with Dead and Anonymous and church burnings. Everybody knows about that stuff. But they showed a slideshow of all that stuff. It was really cool. And then they played like a few songs from each albums. And excellent live band, one of my favourite bands of all time, Mayhem. Always have an amazing time seeing them. Definitely a band that really got me into extreme metal. I mean, to be honest, there's no band in the world that has a more extreme history than Mayhem, really. Like, wow, just fucking Dead killed himself. Anonymous took pictures of his brain, and then Dead, the original singer, used to bury his clothes in the dirt and then dig them up at night to inhale the stench of death. That's just so metal. That is so metal. That's so cool. And then like Anonymous with the circle and shit, and then Varg got fucking Varg Vikernes, was in Burzum, murdered Anonymous when he knows that story. And yeah, it's just crazy. There's no band in the world that has such a crazy history as Mayhem. Definitely one of the bands I absolutely love. So to this day, their performance was excellent. They always look awesome live, and they look fucking evil and shit. Like Attila in his costumes, like some sort of demon, and the band had like black hoods and stuff. It was really cool. It's definitely shout out to Mayhem. These bands that I talked about, from like the Biscuit to Mayhem, strange comparison, kind of shaped the way I listen to metal of today. My favourite genres are black metal, death metal, thrash metal, grindcore. The most extreme genres are my favourite. I've always been attracted to the more extreme bands, even like I said earlier with Slipknot album Iowa. I was more impressed by that. It made more of an impression on me than kind of other sort of Limp Bizkit, Papa Roach, all that stuff. But I heard Slipknot Iowa, I was kind of hooked, and then it's kind of gone from there really. And now like some of my favourite bands include like Mayhem, Belphegor, Watain, Funeral. The more extreme the better. I'm just attracted to that, the more extreme the better, and it's just really cool. Behemoth as well, another one, and yeah, I've seen a lot of these bands live. And, yeah, today I love extreme metal. I'd say black metal is my favourite genre. I just love the atmosphere, to be honest. Like black metal takes you away from that reality. That's like Dark Funeral and stuff like that. It just takes you away from reality. It really does. Obviously I love death metal as well. A close second. DSI, Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel, Death, Suffocation, Brutal bit as well. Thrash metal, Creator, Sodom, Sepultura, Destruction, Slayer, Exodus, all that stuff. Love it. Grindcore, like recently saw Pig Destroyer live about 3 weeks ago. They were fucking excellent band. Mosh pit, like every song's just brutal. Loved it. Carcass, Napalm Death, and all the thrack. Yeah, I love it. The harder the better for me. I've always felt like that. The more extreme the better. Definitely.
Black metal continues to thrive as new generations of musicians carry the torch into darker and more diverse realms. Across the globe, fresh acts are rising with raw energy, uncompromising vision, and a determination to carve their names into the underground. Bands like Garia, Portugal, Lamp of Murmur, USA, Panzerfaust, Canada, and Uwata, USA, are redefining the modern black metal sound, ranging from atmospheric and post-black influences to the relentless ferocity of pure old-school aggression.
Standing alongside these newer forces is Venom Inc., a band that embodies black metal's origins while remaining fiercely relevant today. Featuring Ragebreed Magazine's front cover icon, Tony Demolition Man Dolan, Venom Inc. have carried forward the legacy of the band that arguably gave black metal its very name. Their live shows are a ferocious reminder of the genre's beginnings, while their newer material proves they are not just living on past glories but actively shaping the movement for the future. They plan to play the Bloodstock Winterfest this year. Have you got your ticket? Together, the clash of old and new shows that black metal is not only alive but evolving, ensuring its place in the underground and beyond for decades to come.
I'm interviewing Tony Dolan from Venom Inc. We're here in VIP at Bloodstock. and really enjoying it. It's been a really good afternoon. So Tony, how are you finding Bloodstock so far?
Well, I found it because they sent me a map, and I looked on the map and went, oh, it's there, and that's how I got here. But I just followed the rain because, Bloodstock normally it's kind of dry.
Yeah.
But, this year we've been blessed with rain torrentially. So, but in the VIP area and out in the arena, it's just everybody's out covered in mud and happy as fuck, and so that's what it's all about. So
absolutely.
It's nice to be here.
It is, it's great. And so last year you guys, Venom Inc. actually played the main stage here.
Yes, that's right.
And how did you find it?
Well, again, they gave me a little map, and it was amazing. We last year when they gave us this spot, we actually played a couple of festivals in Europe. Manchester's had a heart attack and died, and so 11 weeks later, he felt that he could get back on the bike, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we played in Finland, a place called Porosphere, and then after that we went straight to Belgium, played Alcatraz, and the next day we flew in to Manchester. I had a car, drove down there, and we were on Bloodstock stage like 20 minutes after we arrived. But it was 15,000 people out there, and it was the most amazing experience we had. And we were tired and just going, it's a show, let's just do our thing. So we didn't expect anything, but the response for us to be in England and was amazing. And to be able to come this year, I'm championing with some bands here. We Safeist from Poland, who won the Battle of the Bands, will be on the New Blood stage. Of course, Divine Chaos, our friends of mine, been on tour. We've just spoiled Control the Storm, amazing bands. Defcon 1, so to be able to come and see those bands, support those bands, see all my friends, see fans, and just to be in the experience without playing is also amazing. So
that's great. Yeah, definitely. And it's wonderful that you're promoting sort of the underground bands as well, because I think obviously as they're emerging, to have someone to support them as you do is a great, very noble thing of you to do, really.
Well, I think it's I'm talking to you, and this is Karina, this is Ragebreed, and you're an entrepreneurial, you sing, you promote, you do so much for the metal community, and I think you did it last time now in Nottingham, and I think it's about that. It's about giving to your community and getting it back, because we are a community. And I think when I think of Britain, of course there's amazing bands from everywhere in the world now, Scandinavia, Germany, everywhere, France, America, of course, South America, but and Japan. But when I think of Britain, I think of Judas Priest, who made an amazing album last year, or just watched Russ the Bus, which was great, doing their Manowar thing, which was great. He's an old friend. But then KK Downing comes on and they play a couple of Priest songs, like, oh my god, that's what we did. Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. It's like, oh my god. So to go around the New Blood stages, the Jägermeister stage, the Sophie stage, and be supporting British bands as well,
absolutely,
and to see the talent and the energy that we have is amazing. So I think it's very, very important, because without the Jägermeister stage, you don't end up with a Black Sabbath. Everybody starts somewhere.
Exactly that.
It could be 50 people in a pub, but it could end up with 20,000 people at Bloodstock.
Exactly.
That's where it is, but it starts somewhere. So support music as much as you can. People like Karina and Ragebreed, things like this. Support the charity, support our community, but support our metal.
Absolutely, that's great stuff, Tony. And so what's next for Venom Inc. then? What have you got in the pipeline coming up?
Well, I had 2 toilet rolls and some earbuds in the pipeline, and the councillor said you've got to stop putting them down the toilet. But no, I got an operation. I got to have a new hip, which has been delayed because of the NHS and stuff for some time, but I've got that done. So we thought we cancelled Australia, and I cancelled European dates after Blackened, after the festival season, because we did a whole bunch in Pit Fest and Rock and Rose Festival, and then we did Blackened and Hellfest.
Sure.
I cancelled the rest so we can get the operation done. I thought, well, why don't we use this time to finish the new album? So we're doing the new album now.
Okay.
We need a 3-month run-up period for release, so it'll be January, February, March. So March, April 2020 will be the new album, and we'll be out on tour then. So.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds amazing.
All busy.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Well, thanks so much for the interview, Tony. You've been absolutely amazing as usual. And yeah, so definitely check out Venom Inc, guys, if you haven't heard them already. Absolutely brilliant band. Absolutely rocked it in London. I've seen them in London, seen them at Bloodstock. Absolutely great. So definitely check them out.
See you soon. Support live music, support Ragebreed.
Lovely. Thank you, Tony.
And that was a great interview with Tony Dolan backstage at Bloodstock a while back, a few years ago now. But it was amazing to interview him. And he was there again at Bloodstock this year. And we watched a bit of Fear Factory. Tony has been an incredible friend to me because he has really helped with promoting what Ragebreed do. He's been on the front cover of the magazine. We've done, he's even come up to Leicester to host the Millathon when we had Ragebreed Club Night. He has been, a really great character in my life. I think he's been very supportive. And he's really a great person, and from working with him to whether it's been a club night, whether it's been the zine interviews, front cover, whether it's been him coming to support the nights that I've put on, he has been a pillar of strength for me. He really has. So I just want to send a shout out to him, just to say thank you for all the support. I'm meeting some of his buds as well at Bloodstock. Really great Bloodstock this year. It was very good. And also just a shout out to say thanks for sharing the photograph we had with each other as well on his socials. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing that we have such great talent in the UK. Do support Venom Inc. They're going to be absolutely brilliant at the end of this year for the Bloodstock Winterfest. Do go down, check it out, buy your ticket. And I think that's about it really for us today, but thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to Aural Abominations on Ragebreed Radio. Keep it metal, keep it Ragebreed.
You are listening to Aural Abominations on Ragebreed Radio.